Fear not. Here we come.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 horror film There's Something Wrong with the Children. The film is directed by Roxanne Benjamin and it stars Amanda Crew, Zach Gilford, Briella Guaza and David Mattel. Now the film focuses on two couples who kind of go away for like these lodges for the weekend sort of thing, it looks like. One of the couples has two small children, and while they're having fun, drinking and reconnecting and all that kind of stuff, during the day they decide to go for like a hike through the woods, and they come across like these ruins that seem to have like a strange effect on the children. The children then become kind of obsessed with it, and they want to go back. And then the couple that don't have the children agree to babysit them overnight while the other couple who are having some marital problems kind of try and reconnect sort of thing. And then the morning after, the children are gone. There's a massive panic, and it would appear Zach Gilford's character, Ben, kind of sees the kid fall into this pit, see the children fall into this pit, and he's devastated. He thinks they're gone, they're dead. He walks back, and then he sees these children playing and having fun. And then it all starts turning very, very sinister, very, very fast, as it would appear that these aren't the children that he knows, and these children are behaving in a very, very sinister way. Right, what are my thoughts on There's Something Wrong with the Children? Well, evil children is nothing new in the horror genre. You know, you've got the Children of the Corn, Village of the Damned, so on and so forth. It can be for a really creepy premise if done properly. The question is, does this film do it properly? Well, no. While this film has some polish to it, it's got good production values, it's well made, there's good performances in the film, even though I wasn't keen on any of the characters, really. I mean, the characters were poorly introduced, and they were really quite uninteresting. And there was nothing really there to like about any of them, really. They all seemed to have their own baggage that just wasn't interesting to me. And for me as well, that while I thought the child actors were fine, especially when they kind of were behaving in like a sinister way, you barely noticed them before. You know what I mean? So it didn't feel like a stark contrast when they kind of came back and they were changed, or whatever was going on with them. It didn't feel like a night and day change sort of thing, because you could barely remember what they were like before that. And the main problem, I think, with this film is it's just very dull for large chunks of the film. Very little happens until well over an hour into the film, I would suggest, other than these, you know, the setup and stuff lasts a good 40 minutes, something like that, and it's not interesting stuff. It's actually really quite dull. And then you get these kids kind of being a little bit sinister for 10, 15, 20 minutes, you know, playing silly games and toying with the Ben character, played by Zach Gilford. Or Gifford, well, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, to be fair. Because he kind of knows something's not right. He's seen these kids go down this pit. So he knows there's something wrong with these kids, and they're kind of playing with him. And that's fun for a while, but then you kind of like, okay. And then it gets to the point where you're like, what's actually happening here? And what's actually happening is maybe not what you would expect, and it could have been a pleasant surprise if they'd have pulled the trigger on it fully. But they don't. They just really hint at it, and you never really get to see anything cool in this film. In regards to vicious kills, you know, gruesome gore, anything like that. You don't get to see anything cool like that in this film, unfortunately. It kind of hints at it. It's kind of tame for the most part as well. And I think if they'd have actually pulled back the curtain and showed us a little bit more and upped the pace a little bit and made it a little bit more fun, then I think this could have been a much more successful film. What we actually get, I think, is a little bit dull, uninteresting, and disappointing. And I thought the trailer personally showed an awful lot of promise. I think what the final product is ultimately disappointing, a little bit uninteresting, and there's just no surprises in the film. And ultimately, I was certainly I would say by the end of this film, I was certainly disappointed with how it turned out and ultimately the conclusion of the film as well. It's one of those films that just finishes, and you're like, oh, it's a bit like, you know, The Grey with Liam Neeson, and you're there, you want to see the conclusion of the film, and it like finishes, and you're like, bugger, this is pretty much the same thing. Gets to the point in the film when you're kind of like, right, okay, let's see what's going to happen. Boom, ends, and you're like, oh, right. Just as you was maybe piquing my interest, you decide to shut the door and end the film. So interesting premise. I think it is quite disappointingly executed on the screen, but I don't think it's a disaster or anything. Like I say, it's well made, the premise is good, the performances are decent, even though I didn't like the characters, and there were some decent moments in the film here and there, but ultimately I think the premise was let down here overall, so that's why I've given this one the score I have given it. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you back on the next review.